Good evening, everyone. This is Pradeep Mal, Ambassador of Change from Getty, the Global Education and Training Institute of Lucknow. We are the premier training institute for teachers and principals in India and other parts of the world. And we have many in-service and pre-service programs. For more information, please go to 7408401000. Right now, you are on our disruptive education platform provided to us by our mentor, Dr. Sunita Gandhi. And on this platform, we have met with and interacted with more than 1,500 educators from India and all over the world. And this evening, we have for you Mr. Takyi Michael. He's a teacher trainer. One Seed, which is an NGO from Accra, Ghana. He is dedicated and goal-driven. He is a professional educator with 10 years of experience. He is the founder of Prime Choice Educational Consult, and he promotes international standards of the 21st century. He is a graduate from the University of Education, Winneba, Ghana, in 2014, and the winner of the coveted 2020 EduCom Awards for Creative Digital Teacher. He also studied educational consultancy and strategic school leadership from Africa Education Gateway. Currently working with One Seed, a non-profit Ghana, and pursuing Master of Arts in Educational Leadership and Management from the University of Ghana. It is his desire as an educator to help students meet their fullest potential and provide an environment that is safe, supports risk-taking, and invites sharing of ideas. He is also very fond of reading. He shall be speaking to us today on creating outstanding classrooms. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for being with us. And over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm very happy for this opportunity. I'm reaching you from Ghana, a wonderful place in Africa. And today we are going to talk about how to create an outstanding classroom. When I got the invitation to join this interesting platform, I was so happy to share my experience as a teacher with everyone. And I'm very happy today that we are going to share something interesting. We are going to look at how do we create an outstanding classroom. The narrative of the 21st century education is changing. And as it is changing, it must be disruptive, as global education is talking about, and it must be outstanding because the generation we have today, the narrative has changed. So today we are going to look at how do we create this outstanding classroom? How do we create a classroom that is meant to suit the 21st century needs? How do we create a classroom that will prepare today's generation for the global world? Well, the narrative is changing. Today, most of the teaching methods that are currently being used in the classroom are way back or propounded by old or in the olden days. So most of these theories and teaching methods that are seriously being applied in the classroom, most of them were propounded years ago. However, we need to create a classroom that will suit the 21st century needs, a classroom that is meant to nurture every student to be at the top. And how do we do that? How do we create an outstanding classroom? An outstanding classroom is embodied with 5 components. And to this, I call them the themes that can create an outstanding classroom. The first theme is a positive school environment. A positive school environment. The next one is an outstanding teacher. So the school as a unit must have a positive school environment that will translate into the outstanding teacher. Then it will translate into classroom expectations. From there, it will translate into growth mindsets. Then from growth mindset, we'll look at the classroom layout. The classroom layout. So these 5 themes is what we are coming to talk about today to create an outstanding classroom. When I talk about outstanding classroom, an outstanding classroom is where every learner is valued, and is more friendly and inspiring positive mindset. Because for the classroom to be outstanding, every learner must be carried along. For the classroom to be outstanding, the classroom environment must ignite and initiate learning. For the classroom environment to be outstanding, then the school must have a positive environment. So everything comes together to play or to create the outstanding classroom. So the first theme I talked about, positive classroom environment. What is positive classroom environment? Creating a positive classroom environment is one of the educator's key roles in supporting students' mental health and well-being. So the positive classroom environment starts with you. That translates into the same as positive school environment. The environment within the school premises must initiate and inspire learners to come out of their shell, because most learners will not come out till you create a positive school environment. And a positive school environment talks about everything within the school premises. Everything within the school premises. Because if we don't have a positive school environment, it can't translate into a positive classroom. Because the school environment must be positively oriented in order to generate a positive classroom. A positive classroom. Now, a positive classroom equally encourages and supports mental health and well-being of learners. Many a times, teachers talked about so many things, and to me, today I'm going to refer to them as myth. Teachers sometimes use so many excuses to justify why they can't create a positive classroom environment. Most of these excuses that I want you to take them out of your thinking so that we can move on to our next slide and enjoy this slide or enjoy this presentation, is stop thinking that, I need the maximum amount of resources to create a positive environment. When I laugh too much with my learners, they will misbehave. When I bring my learners close to me, they are going to misbehave, or it's going to create a behavior that is not welcome in a classroom. Well, I'm a teacher, so I am the boss, and my learners are students. So I have to create a gap so that my learners will respect this distance. Please, it's never done like that. Creating a positive classroom starts with you. As a teacher, having a positive mindset about the classroom you manage or the classroom you handle is everything about you as a teacher. So all these myths, all this justification that sometimes we do, trying to justify why my classroom cannot be outstanding. We don't have enough resources. Oh, I can't do this. Technology is not in use. I can't get close to my learners' parents. I can't connect with them. I can't give them feedback because this is how things are done. Please, it's a myth. Creating an outstanding classroom starts with you. How well you embody your system or how well you create the environment surrounding you will yield out the expected outcomes. So let's clear all this myth and roll to the next slide and talk about you as a teacher. What makes you outstanding? How do we create an outstanding classroom? It starts with you being an outstanding teacher or an outstanding educator. How do we create that? It starts with you. I say this every time I talk to teachers during trainings. I work with One Seed, an NGO in Ghana that is touching lives everywhere. Anytime I go out to train teachers, I say one thing. There are two types of teachers: a teacher on a mission and a teacher on a job. To create an outstanding classroom, you must be a teacher on a mission. A teacher on a mission looks beyond what he's getting from the school. A teacher on a mission looks beyond the remuneration that is coming. A teacher on a mission looks beyond whatever he's getting from the school. A teacher on a mission is that the students are in the center of his activity. A teacher on a mission is looking, how do I impact positively? A teacher on a mission is looking, how do I create a relationship that my learners will get close to me? A teacher on a relationship is looking at, how do I bring my learners closer to me? That's a teacher on a mission. A teacher on a job, as you can see on our slide, has or probably is thinking very small, because a teacher on a mission, you can see, is very big. A teacher on a job is thinking small, thinking, this is my classroom. I have to manage only my classroom. I have to maintain discipline in my classroom. I have to do this in my classroom. He doesn't want to touch the lives beyond his classroom. He's not communicating with his parents. He's waiting for remuneration or salary or looking for how he can get something out of the school and move on with his life. I say this every day. To be a teacher, you must look beyond you. It's one of the professions that, to me, I think is a calling. If you are not called, hardly can you have the passion to deliver as a teacher. So as a teacher, you must be on a mission to impact positively to the lives or in the lives of our learners. And that is the game changer. That is our aim. That is all what we look out for. How do we impact positively? How do we impact positively? How do we change the narrative from being on the job to becoming a teacher or educator on a mission where you end up investing more, where you end up talking more, where you end up looking beyond the needs of the learners? Is there anything I can do to support? Can I have one-on-one connection with learners? That is something we should look at as a teacher. Now, who is an outstanding teacher again? After establishing the condition that we must be on a mission, how do we start or how do we move along as a teacher on a mission? The first thing I say every day is that never say that he knows everything. A teacher on a mission never says that he knows everything. A teacher on a mission sees himself as a learner. That is how a teacher on a mission sees himself. Because in order to create that outstanding classroom, you must see yourself as a learner and not jump on the table and assume that you are the holder of knowledge or you are the master of knowledge and you are ready to impact. And all learners must keep quiet and watch you. That should not be the narrative. In the 21st century, the narrative is changing. The narrative is changing. You don't say you know everything. You must be ready to learn. You must be ready to appreciate the input of your learners. Again, an outstanding teacher admits his or her mistakes. You have to, yes, you have to admit when you are wrong. You have to admit when your input or whatever you are saying in a classroom don't probably, go with the general norm. Because every day new informations are coming out. So the information that we may know yesterday can be debunked or changed today. So whenever you are in a classroom and with the 21st century kids that I see them to be the new generation that are so technologically, advanced, exploring and looking beyond. And when they come into the classroom, they come with so much vibrant ideas. So with these ideas in the classroom, you, the teacher, you must be ready to learn and you must be ready to admit. Now, admitting your mistakes as a teacher equally sends a huge signal to your learners about growth mindset. That is something we'll talk about later, about growth mindset. So with this growth mindset, it starts with you, by you admitting that mistakes are part of our lives and they are the springboard that we must shoot. So every mistake that comes in, you must admit and hope that, or work with your learners or walk along with them to change how things must be. The next one is that an outstanding teacher manages his or her class effectively. How effectively do you manage your class? Well, I say this every day. In my classroom, the narrative of creating rules, I don't go with it because the word rules sounds more supreme or authoritative. You must change the language despite you setting rules. How well do you manage your classroom management skills? Is that something you are doing? How effective is your lesson? And how effective is your class in your absence? Sometimes I say this that the classroom, your absence in your classroom determines your classroom management. Your absence in the classroom determines how effective your classroom management is. So in your presence, if you're having a very good classroom management, and in your absence, the classroom management or what happens in your classroom is opposite of your presence, then you are not effective or you are not managing your class well. Because whatever you do as a teacher in your classroom, in your absence, it must work. It must work in your absence. So in your absence, those machineries or those plans or management skills that you've put in place, they must work in your absence. They must work in your absence. They must work in your, so that you can say that they work as if you don't exist. Let your students behave, or let them be what you expect them to be even in your absence. Now, the next thing that an outstanding teacher look out for is that he combines teaching with fun. That's an outstanding teacher. His lessons are so interesting. There's so much fun. You dress in your costume, you engage learners, you add fun to your lesson, and that classroom, that outstanding nature will evolve, because it starts with you. How interesting your lessons are, or how interesting your teachings are, will reflect in what you do as a teacher. The next one is that he adapts easily to every situation. An outstanding teacher adapts easily to every situation, because the school environment will pose in questions. The school environment will introduce concepts, but how well do you adapt? Many a times we see teachers that when there's a change, they even complain openly in front of their learners. What signal are you sending to your learners? You must adapt easily to every situation. Positive situations, of course. You must adapt easily to every situation. If you're having a lesson and there are some activities that you must bring on board, please, let's see how well we can adapt to these situations to ensure a positive classroom. The next thing here is that an outstanding teacher creates a positive relationship with students. Now, on top of all these discussions I'm talking about today is relationship. Relationship. How well do you create a relationship? You can never have an outstanding classroom without creating a positive relationship. You can never have a positive classroom without creating an outstanding teacher-student relationship. Now, I have 5 things here that we can easily talk about. 1, create leadership role for every child. Create leadership role for every child. One of the skills that the 21st century every child must acquire is leadership. Leadership is one of the vital skills that every child within this 21st century must acquire. Leadership. And where does this leadership start? It starts with you in a classroom, or it starts with you as a teacher in one way or the other, creating an outstanding classroom. So every child must be in leadership. And it's very simple. You can have committees. Multiple leadership can end up creating a lot of problems. But you can have a committee, you can have a disciplinary board, you can have sanitation board, about 5 or 6 students. Now, when you create this role and put them in charge, now every child assumes that he's in authority, or every child assumes that he's responsible and accountable to the class. So with that, your classroom management is pushed up, or you become very good, or it will cut a lot of misbehavior in a classroom. The next thing that I want to talk about is that small moments matter. Small moments matter. Don't ignore. Small moments matter. You don't need to ignore. Look, celebrate everything of your learners. The first time a child in your class is scoring, let's say 5 out of 10 or 2 out of 10, celebrate them. It's their birthday. Positively celebrate with them. Bond with them as if you are their second parent. And I say this every day. Teachers are second parents. Most scholars even believe that teachers are the first parents of learners. You must celebrate every moment with them. Don't ignore. Don't see every achievement as too small to celebrate. It means a lot to the learner. Let me take that quote again. Celebrate every moment or every chance you get with your learners, because those achievements mean so much to them. So celebrate with them. The next one is that write them positive notes or letters weekly. Yes, as we are bonding with them, write them positive notes. Write them letters, academic letters that are positively oriented, encouraging them, bringing them closer to you, for them to know that you see beyond what they see, for them to know that you're not only concerned about the academic work, but rather concerned about other aspects of their lives. Then the last thing is that use their interest in their lesson. Most of the interest that something a child probably, poses out in the classroom to be, always put them in your lesson. And the last one is that apologize when you are wrong. Apologize when you are wrong. The very moment you are wrong and you apologize to your learners, you are telling them that it's a positive classroom and you're ready to welcome positive ideas. You are telling them that it's a virtue you are putting in them. It's a virtue that you are instilling in them for them to come out of their shell, to equally do the same thing when they are wrong. When you are wrong, you need to apologize. When you hurt somebody, let them know that in the classroom, it's like a family and you are ready to work with them. So even you, as a teacher, when you go off board, you have to apologize to the classroom. It creates a positive and outstanding classroom. The next theme that I want us to talk about is classroom expectations. What are your classroom expectations? So after looking at who is an outstanding teacher as a figure, now we are going to look at in the classroom, what do you look out for? The first thing is to have expectations. And Harry Wong believes that the odds are greater that what you want to happen will happen because you'll be expending energy to see that it will be so. So the things you want to happen in your classroom, communicate. Don't assume that they are students and they are meant, they have to know, they are matured, they have to know this is right, they have to know this is wrong. You have to communicate that communication. You have to give back to them what you expect. Even in our daily lives as an adult, or even couples staying as husband and wife, they need to communicate what they want from each other. Without communication, everybody goes off board. Without expectation being communicated effectively, everyone will go off board. So you need to communicate to let your learners know that these are your expectations and these are the things that you expect or you look out for. Now, to what length do you want your expectations to be? To what length do you want your expectations to be? To what length do we want your expectations to be? Now, the expectations that we look out for can go up or probably can go down. But whatever you expect from learners, you must communicate it effectively. You must communicate it effectively. Don't allow learners, or don't think that at this point they will know, or at this point they will know, so that is okay. Let them know to what extent. So from the slide here, you can see the measurement is from 1 to 8. That is the length of expectations that we are looking out for. That is what I want my learners to be. This is what I want them to do. This is what I want us to communicate. Good. Now, the next thing, what do you consider before you set expectations? 1, what qualities do you want to see from your learners? That should be the first question you have to ask yourself. Are you expecting them to care for each other? Are you expecting them to be honest? Are you expecting them to submit their homework on time? Are you expecting them to observe lessons as you are teaching? Are you expecting them to bring anything to school to ensure effective lesson delivery? Communicate. The next one to consider when setting out expectation is that, is there any data to suggest a need for expectation? Maybe you may have a data of every learner and it depends how you interpret that data. Now, if you are given a data or if you have a data, then you know the kind of learners you have. You may even have a special child. With that data, it will tell you the kind of expectations that you should ask from them. So you need data to set out these expectations. The next one is that, how do you develop a sense of community? How do you develop a sense of community around these expectations? So you need to develop a sense of community. Let them know that the classroom environment is welcoming all ideas and you are ready to work with them. Now, how do we get to know our learners better? Creating an outstanding classroom revolves around the teacher. Whatever you do translates into the actions of your learners. So how do we get to know our learners better? 1, physical touch. Maybe despite the COVID situations, you don't have to get close to your learners. But with high five, it really bonds you to your learners. The next one is affirmation, your kind words. You are a shining star. Thank you for working so hard. All these affirmation and kind words bond you or bring you closer to your learners. You are such a great kid. Really? I even want to hear that. Even at workplace, I expect my boss to tell me, well, you're such a great worker. It's fun and really makes me feel I'm wanted, or it really makes me feel I'm needed. And it really puts so much accountability on me to work harder. The next one is keep going. You can do it. I think you can have these affirmation words displayed in your classroom. Communicating these affirmation words to encourage learners. Keep going, you can do it. Thank you for working so hard. These things makes your learners feel they are welcome and the passion to deliver more. The next one is actions, equally actions to get to know your learners better. Positive notes. You can get sticky notes, write a nice message and give to your learners. What I do in my classroom is that every week, after every week, I write at least 5 positive notes for learners. Planning that at the end of the term, or at the end of the academic year, or at the end of the school year, every child probably would have received a positive note from me. And this goes a long way for the learners to feel connected and happy. The next one is materials and homemade items. As a teacher, there are a lot of things you can do to spice up your classroom. You can have some materials that are homemade, anything that you can do as a teacher, you can bring it to your classroom and give it out as gifts. I say this that at the end of every academic year, a teacher, you must give your learners presents. The present can be a book. The present can be a story they wrote and you took the time to type it out and publish it or bring it out as a book and give it back to the learner. They feel so connected. They feel so happy. They feel that their teacher is with them. They are not alone. The next thing is having quality time with them, one-on-one time. As an outstanding classroom, a lot comes into it. So you must have a quality time with your learners, where your learners will come together, have communication with you, you encourage them, you ask them what is happening. Is there anything you can do as a teacher to make them happy? At least with that one-on-one quality time, you can ask that very question. What can I do, Michael, to make your life or to make you happy in this classroom? That should be the question you should ask your learners. How do I make you happy in this classroom? And you will hear the wonderful things that the child is going to tell you. Or you can, how do I make this class a nice place for every learner to be happy? They will give you these brilliant ideas and it will bond you together with them. Remember, teachers don't have learners for a day, or teachers don't have students for a day. The students you teach them for a day becomes your lifelong students. They will remember you forever. So have that quality time with them. Acknowledge their events. You can have a birthday chat in your classroom where you celebrate birthday events or any event with your kids. If it's their birthday, you sing happy birthday song, the class laugh, and it's fun. Most of these learners we have in our classroom, their parents sometimes don't even celebrate their birthday. And it's you as a teacher to get closer and bond with them. So such events as their birthday, you can sing happy birthday where every child in a classroom can even write a birthday message encouraging or inspiring the learner. Good. Now, the next thing that we are going to talk about that I'm so much interested in this. As I said earlier, creating an outstanding classroom comes with 5 themes. And this theme here is everything to me. Mindset. In the 21st century, everything is about mindsets. Mindset is everything. Whether you are going to encourage your learners to have a positive mindset or you are going to encourage them to have a fixed mindset. So my question is that how or where do you belong to? Where do you belong to? Are you encouraging your learners to have a fixed mindset or you're encouraging them to have growth mindset? Now, the narrative of intelligence or the narrative of who is smart or who is brilliant in a classroom is changing. The narrative is changing. Now, we must shift the idea or the belief that skills or intellect or talent are set and are unchangeable. most parents sometimes pass comments to our learners at home. Well, I am not good at mathematics, so obviously my daughter or my son is not going to be good in mathematics. Parents say this. And when such information is passed in the presence of the learner goes off board and come out with this fixed mindset that, look, this is how I am. I am not born to be smart. After all, in the classroom, I can see smart students. So I am not born to be smart. So that this is who I am. No. That mindset must change. And we must shift the narrative for learners to believe that skills and talent can be developed through practice and strategies. That is where we must change the narrative to. That look, those you see in the classroom that are smart, we can become like them. We can develop, we can get there. So that mindset will change, and the learner will begin to accept the fact that this is what I can do best. And how do we bring in mindset? Mindset comes in when the teacher is praising efforts rather than intelligence or the skills. You must praise efforts. Praise the effort of every learner, and that will unearth their potentials. If you don't praise their efforts, they will think that they are where they are and nothing good will come out of them. So you start praising their effort. And how do we do it? Let's look at some of the common things that happens in our classroom. We have neutral praise, we have intelligent praise, and we have the effort praise. Sometimes we say this every day. Wow, that's really good score. You take most teachers' comments, they say this every day. Wow, that's a really good score. The question is, there is no attribution for what the child did. Good score for what? Good score for doing what? Of all the things I've done, is it only the score that is important? Maybe I did very well in writing this narrative essay or in writing this essay. Why is the teacher circling on the good score? That is the question I think we should ask ourselves. And that's a neutral praise. The child doesn't know what is the teacher even praising me of. The next thing is, wow, that's really good score. You are very smart. Now, they are told that they have acquired good score, means that they are smart, or that their smartness is the reason why they did that. So you are praising such child on intelligence. Because you are telling the child that he is smart. Yes, I'm smart. And most people can take this praise and remain at where they are. I'm smart. My teacher said it. I'm smart. But when we change the narrative to effort praise, something like, wow, that's really good score. You must have tried really hard. There, the learner will see that, oh, so my efforts, my time, my skills, or the ingenuity I brought on board has really yielded that effort. Because you are telling the learner that you have really worked hard. Here, the explanation is that they have good performance and they have to really work hard. So no matter how smart the child is, you are telling the child to still work hard, or he can even work harder. So when we start praising efforts rather than intelligence, every child in a classroom will see his path as growth. Because my teacher is seeing something wonderful in me, and the teacher is equally seeing something wonderful in every learner. So the path here is growth. The next thing is, how do we involve parents? Creating an outstanding classroom revolves around communication with parents. Now, never forget that every child or every student is someone's child. Never forget that. And parents or caregivers or guardians wants to hear that you see the good in their child. Every parent wants to see that the teacher is seeing something good in their child. So a positive connection at home can often help creating that outstanding classroom. The positive connection you will have at home can create that outstanding classroom. So how well do you connect? How well do you connect? Now, let's talk about the connecting. How can an outstanding teacher connect at home? One, a periodic call to check on students. A periodic call, sometimes you can call, depending on the school policy. Most school policies may restrict you from connecting with parents, but if your school policy allows communication between teachers and learners, then kindly communicate effectively with learners. Let parents see the day-to-day activities that is happening in their child's life. Let them be with you, because creating an outstanding classroom or grooming the 21st century learners, their parents must be involved. Parents must be involved. If you have open day where parents comes around to the school, let them be involved. Communicate with them. Let them see the good you see in their kids, and let them see the journey so far before you talk about things that you expect to change or things you expect them to put in more effort so that you can revive or you can encourage the learners at home. Let them see something positive in their children. Now, the next one is positive feedback. I've talked about it. It is so important to involve parents. Give them the positive feedback. Let them know all the great things you are doing. And please, the feedback must be positive. Let's not look at the unrefined nature. Let's not look at what bubbles out of every learner as repulsive. And we see that as a best way to communicate that to their parents. Many a times when teachers are communicating with parents, your child is this, your child talks a lot, your child is stubborn, your child is this, please, let's see how positively we can communicate before we look out for things that we want to change in the learners. Now, the next thing that I want us to look at is effective use of technology. Creating an outstanding classroom in the 21st century, technology can never be taken out. No, you can't take technology out. Because an outstanding classroom is so much fun and it's full of so many activities, because the 21st century learners are technologically oriented. So if you don't integrate technology in your classroom, your learners will not have the fun, or probably your learners will not get more involved in your lessons. And it's so easy, but some parts of the world sometimes it's, comes out with so many difficulties or lapses or gaps that we understand that it's a huge problem, or that deficit is really creating a problem, making things a bit difficult. But you can start in your own way with your smartphone as a teacher. You can start in your little way to integrate technology in your lesson. You can start in a small way by accepting some project through email. You can start in a small way by even inviting a resource person through Zoom video conferencing for the person to talk to your learners. You can conduct survey, because most learners, most learners in your classroom, they have smartphones. So why don't you conduct a survey as a form of a formative assessment before a lesson? It's very easy. Integrate technology in your classroom. You can have a Google Classroom with your learners. You can spice up your lesson in ways that every learner will feel they are welcome and happy to be in your classroom. Now let's look at the next slide. The next thing that I want us to talk about is the classroom seating arrangement. The classroom seating arrangement. Now, when it comes to arrangement in a classroom, most teachers work best with the traditional desks in rows or pairs in rows, which to them is very common. But within the 21st century, I'm expecting to see your classroom to have a different seating arrangement. And a seating arrangement that is inspiring cooperation, a seating arrangement that is inspiring group work, a seating arrangement that is unearthing each other's potential, a seating arrangement that is involving all learners to come together. That is how we should see the narrative. That is how we should see the narrative. So let's look at this. Well, depending on your classroom size, teachers may say, I have a small classroom size, I have a too big classroom size, I have a small space, how do I change my... You can have a seating arrangement depending on the lesson you have. Some lessons can introduce you to these kind of seating arrangements. And I say this every day to teachers that The seating arrangements cannot, if you may choose not to make it permanently in your classroom, if you have other restrictions that is not permitting you to have it big, you can have it in a very small way where the lessons that you have prepared to deliver, if only is flexible, you can change the classroom seating arrangement to the horseshoe or to the double horseshoe and have fun in the classroom. The 21st century teaching and learning classroom is full of fun. So if your lesson and your classroom is not fun, then you are not inspiring the learners. The fun should be academically oriented, where every learner, as they are having fun, they are learning. Now you can have the clusters, or you can have a seating arrangement that is made up of letters, depending on how you want your lessons to be, or depending on how fun you want your seating arrangement to be. That embodies the outstanding classroom, because outstanding classroom must change the narrative from the old classroom setting to an impressive classroom setting. Now, there is one thing I say every day as I've come to the end of my slides. I say this every day, that I love when teachers come together. And this quote is from teacher Ali Jandra. Now, he is saying that I love when my fellow teachers and I come together and empower each other and recognize the impact we are having on our students' life together. And this is a very powerful quote. If teachers don't collaborate, if teachers don't come together to change the narrative by creating that disruptive education to suit the 21st century needs, we won't get there. So teachers everywhere hearing my voice, we need to collaborate and come together and recognize that the impact that we are creating as teachers must touch the lives of everybody. Must touch the lives of everybody. Thank you so much as I've come to the end of my presentation. I hope there are questions and I'm ready to take any question that you posted. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Michael, Takyi Michael, and for that very interesting talk, which covered so many aspects of classroom teaching on creating outstanding classrooms. And we have a question from Mr. Hartwell. He says, what are some effective ways of communicating classroom expectations? I think you dealt with this, but maybe you can give it in a capsule.
Thank you. One of the effective way of communicating classroom expectation is the first thing, having a meeting with your learners where you discuss with your learners about some of the things you expect to see in your classroom. Now, after sitting with them and communicating these expectations, the next thing is to draft it in the classroom and post it in the wall or post it on the wall. Now, when this is posted on the wall, every learner knows that this is what I have to follow in the classroom. So the expectations must be well communicated and posted and displayed, where everybody will know that these are the expectations that is expected of me in the classroom.
Thank you, sir. So, good evening, everybody. And before we leave, I request you to watch our detox of our disruptive literacy movement by Global Dreams, which is an initiative by Dr. Sunita Gandhi since 2014. This is to ensure everyone's participation by a people's movement in ensuring and achieving total foundational literacy and numeracy in our country. And on this, we have several talks every day. And for more information on the talks that you might like to listen or tune into, please go to 740-840-1000. So good evening, everybody. Thank you, sir. And goodbye. See you again tomorrow.
Bye-bye.